On self-overcoming. Will to truth. You who are wisest call that which impels you and fills you with lust. A will to the thinkability of all beings. This is what I call your will. You want to make all being thinkable, for you doubt with well-founded suspicion that it is already thinkable. But it shall yield and bend for you, thus your will wants it. It shall become smooth and serve the spirit as its mirror and reflection. That is your whole will, you who are wisest. A will to power. When you speak of good and evil too, and of valuations, you still want to create the world before which you can kneel. That is your ultimate hope and intoxication. The unwise, of course, the people, they are like a river on which a bark drifts, and in the bark sit the valuations, solemn and muffled up. Your will and your valuations you have placed on the river of becoming, and what the people believe to be good and evil, that always betrays me, to me, an ancient will to power. It was you who are wisest, who placed such guests in this bark, and gave them pomp and proud names. You and your dominant will. Now the river carries your bark further. It has to carry it. It avails nothing that the broken wave foams and angrily opposes the keel. Not the river is your danger, and the end of your good and evil, you who are wisest, but that will itself, the will to power, the unexhausted procreative will of life. But to make you understand my word concerning good and evil, I shall now say to you my word concerning life and the nature of living. I pursued the living. I walked the widest and the narrowest paths that I might know its nature. With 100-fold mirror, I still caught its glance when its mouth was closed, so that its eyes might speak to me, and its eyes spoke to me. But wherever I found the living, there I heard also the speech on obedience. Whatever lives, obeys. And this is the second point. He who cannot obey himself is commanded. That is the nature of the living. This, however, is the third point that I heard. That commanding is harder than obeying. And not only because he who commands must carry the burden of all who obey, and because this burden may easily crush him. An experiment and hazard appeared to me to be in all commanding. And whenever the living commands, it hazards itself. Indeed, even when it commands itself, it must still pay for its commanding. It must become the judge, the avenger, and the victim of its own law. How does this happen? I asked myself. What persuades the living to obey and command, and to practice obedience even when it commands? Where I found the living, there I found the will to power, and even in the will of those who I serve, I found the will to be master. that the weaker should serve the stronger, to that it is persuaded by its own will, which would be master over what is weaker still. This is the one pleasure it does not want to renounce. And as the smaller yields to the greater, that it may have pleasure over and power over the smallest, thus even the greatest still yields, and for the sake of power risks its life. That is the yielding of the greatest. It is hazard and danger and casting dice for death. And where men make sacrifices and serve and cast amorous glances, there too is the will to be master. Along stealthy paths the weaker steals into the castle and into the very heart of the more powerful, and there steals power. And life itself confided this secret to me. Behold, it said, I am that which must always overcome itself. Indeed, you call it a will to procreate, or a drive to an end, to something higher, further, more manifold. But all this is one, and one secret. Rather I would perish than forswear this, and verily, where there is perishing and a falling of leaves, behold, there life sacrifices itself for power. That I must be struggle, and a becoming, and an end, and an opposition to ends. Alas, whoever guesses what is my will should also guess on what crooked paths it must proceed. Whatever I create, and however much I love it, soon I must oppose it and my love. Thus my will wills it. And you too, lover of knowledge, are only a path and a footprint of my will. Verily, my will to power walks also on the heels of your will to truth. Indeed, the truth was not hit by him who shot at it with the word of the will to existence. That will does not exist. For what does not exist cannot will. But what is in existence, how could that still want existence? Only where there is life is there also will. Not will to life, but, thus I teach you, will to power. There is much that life esteems more highly than life itself, but out of the esteeming itself speaks the will to power. Thus life once taught me, and with this I shall yet solve the riddle of your heart, you who are wisest. Verily, I say unto you, good and evil that are not transitory do not exist. Driven on by themselves, they must overcome themselves again and again. With your values and word of good and evil, you do violence when you value, and this is your hidden love, and the splendor and trembling and overflowing of your soul. But a more violent force and a new overcoming grow out of your values and break egg and eggshell. And whoever must be a creator in good and evil, verily he must first be an annihilator and break values. Thus the highest evil belongs to the highest goodness, but this is creative. Let us speak of this, you who are wisest, even if it be bad. Silence is worse. All truths that are kept silent become poisonous. And may everything be broken that cannot brook our truths. There are yet many houses to be built. Thus spoke Zerathustra.